So today on the agenda, we have the Olympics, of course, hiding things and being transparent or using disguises, how a trans person or a trans athlete could actually cover things up and alter test results. So I want to get into that a little bit and kind of give you guys a little PSA or a little education, if you will. I don't like talking like that, but you know what I mean? Like a little education about how things can be manipulated and disguised. And I also want to touch on the transitioning of kids. So without further ado, I want to start with the Olympic nightmare as we have. And this is a guy that I have met in person at the Denver Women's Conference. Ross Tucker, he's a PhD, I believe, and he has a really good explanation. I'm just going to play this interview really quick. It's not very long. And he gives a really good explanation as to the answers, like that the IOC, the Olympics, the things that they're hiding and what they could do to maybe change the public's opinion. Let's just listen to this video. It's a really good one.
The fundamental question for sport is, do we accept male advantage in women's sport? And the reason it matters so much more for combat sports like boxing is because that male advantage creates significant safety concerns. And this is, to be frank, the worst case scenario that many people would have seen years ago, where it was known that if sport didn't get a handle on this, then the issue would move away from just being fairness, and eventually we would be dealing with a situation in a combat sport. And it's happened now on the biggest stage of all. It looks all of a sudden, but it isn't. It was entirely foreseeable that this would happen eventually.
Is there a solution to all of this?
If your desired solution is to try and balance fairness and safety and inclusion and have them all equal, then the answer, I'm afraid, is no. There's a solution, but it doesn't balance the imperatives. And I think that's the reality. That's certainly when World Rugby met to discuss the issue, and I think I can safely say swimming, athletics, cycling have followed up. They've recognized that you can't balance them. And I saw the IOC in their statements earlier this week still talking about balancing inclusion with fairness and safety. The fact of the matter is that if you choose inclusion, you do so at the expense of safety and potential and fairness. And if you choose safety and fairness, then you can't have inclusion. And so the short answer is no, unfortunately.
Okay, so Dr. Ross, that dude is amazing. Like I said, I've met him in person. I've listened to his speeches live, and he has information for days about the trans inclusion and what hormones do to a transgender's body. And I'm going to go over that a little bit right now with the way that the IOC is, like I said, disguising results of the boxers, Emain and Tu Ling. So the way that they're covering up the truth, in my opinion, is by not releasing test results. And I'm seeing Twitter is ablaze about, like, if you were a woman and you were tested to be XX, but you failed, would you dispute that or walk away? And everybody's saying I would dispute it because I'm a biological woman. What we're seeing with Emain Khalif is that he isn't disputing it. Originally, he said, I'm going to dispute this test. Now, the argument is, was it a gender test or a testosterone test? And I can tell you it was a gender test. Allegedly, they were not testing for testosterone levels. They were testing for sex, just sex, which can be done by a cheek swab. But since they were doing a blood test, I find that hard to believe. Now, the blood test was taken twice, 2022, 2023, failed both of them for coming up XX, which is a new thing that all the girls are doing now on Twitter. They're going XX or XX like this just to let everybody know that they stand with women and they want to protect women's sports, which I think is really awesome. I wish I could do the same, but I'm not a woman, so I'm not going to worry about that, but I'm glad they're doing stuff like that. So back to that question is, if you were a woman, would you dispute it? Yes, women would. And the proof is in the pudding with, why didn't the Asian boxer dispute the test? Because he knew it was right. He knew the test was accurate, that he had a Y chromosome. So what's he going to dispute? Now, Emain disputed his, but then later withdrew. I mean, this is all kind of old news now. And these two boxers are headed for the medal categories. I mean, they've already secured bronze, I believe, both of them. And we'll see if they win gold. And we have footage of his last bout. I don't know if I can get away with this on YouTube. Hopefully I can. I'll try and show it to you. In case it doesn't let me, what happens is the female fighter gets turned around and the male boxer, Lin, keeps punching her in the back of the head. Like, her neck is on the ropes and he's hitting her in the back of the head. Yeah, yes, boxing is an aggressive sport. The male aggressiveness is shown quite clearly in this video, and because he is a bad guy. Like, there's no need for me to, he's doing that all by himself, in my opinion. So bam, one shot to the head. They rewind it. He hits her against the rope and her neck's against the rope, and she's like, got her hand up, like, hey, stop hitting me. And he slugs her in the back of the head again. what I want to touch base on now is the fact that he, the Asian boxer, did not dispute the test, right? But the Algerian boxer did and then withdrew. So that tells me they know they're not going to pass a gender test, which is supposedly what it was. And so to dive into the gender testing versus testosterone level testing, which is the trans activists really go after hard, is the fact that me or any trans athlete taking this magic little bottle of estrogen and some of these pills would actually bring my testosterone levels down to that equal or less than a female. Now, can I do it? You bet. And that's what I'm going to discuss with you guys. That's what I'm going to tell you guys about. And this is what I want to explain to you guys and how things can be done to cover up your actual testosterone levels. Let's say I want to compete in a women's tournament and it's next week. The rules say that my hormone levels have to be at or below 10 nanograms per milliliter of testosterone, and that my estrogen levels need to be at, say, we'll just say 236, because those are average numbers, and that I've maintained that average for the last 2 years. That's the most difficult part of this whole thing, is that are we testing these trans athletes monthly? I don't think we are. And when we do ask for test results, we, as the right or the conservatives or the rule makers, we are ridiculed because we are now violating someone's human rights, apparently, for simply wanting to know the truth. I mean, could you guys be more disingenuous than that? It's disgusting. So here's how we do it. So I know that my levels, let's say I need to be at 10 on testosterone and 236 in estrogen, right? These are actually my numbers, but don't worry about what they mean. So right now I'm sitting at, I know this because I get my blood work done all the time. So right now I know that I'm sitting at, my testosterone level is probably, let's say 180, because 180 to 200, I feel better. I can train harder because I have higher testosterone, right? And my estrogen is probably down in the, we'll say 50 range, right? Average female is like 136 to 236, I believe. And it depends on how it's measured, whether it's nanoliters or nanoliters per deciliter or nanoliters per milliliter. So there's different ways, and it's a big mess. But anyway, that's why I'm trying to keep it simple with the numbers. So I need to be at 10 and 236. And right now I'm the opposite. My testosterone is up at the 200s and my estrogen is down at is down at the 50 level. So what do I do? Okay, so I keep training as hard as I can because I know I got to compete next Saturday, right? I will stay taking my 2 little estrogen pills, these little blue guys right there. And then I will take my testosterone blockers, these little white ones, spirulactone. And then I'll take this progesterone pill. And that just helps the body digest and process the estrogen. So I stay on that routine right up until Friday, maybe Thursday. Thursday, Friday comes around. I know I have to be tested on Friday because I'm competing on Saturday. So on Thursday night, what I do before I go to bed, I will take 4 of these, knocking my testosterone down rapidly. I will take 4 of these little blue guys, jumping my estrogen off the charts. And then if I still have a little doubt that I won't, I will take this needle and this bottle and I will just stab myself in the butt with it, with 10 milliliters of liquid estrogen, which is so powerful, you guys. It spikes your estrogen level like that within 24 hours. My test results will be, oh, guess what? My testosterone's only 8 and it needed to be at 10. My estrogen level's at 360 and I only needed to be 236. So I went from 200 on testosterone down to 8, and then I went from 50 to 336 in estrogen in less than 24 hours. I go get my test on Friday. I can stop taking these Friday after I take my test. My body will recover. I can eat steak, chicken that you buy from like a Walmart or something, not a Whole Foods or not Sprouts, because here's a little fact. So when you go to your grocery store and you see Tyson chicken, you think, oh, that's a brand name, that's a popular name, and it says, range, free range chicken, healthy, blah blah blah. And it may not even say that. Unless it's organic, it's really not. And I question the organics, but here's what I'm getting at. I'm sorry to run around on you guys with the story, but what I'm getting at is that all chicken in today's market, unless it's from a farmer, has growth hormones in it. And that's why organic is so important to these health nuts, that, it's non-GMO. It's either been genetically modified, which is GMO. So you look for non-GMO, and even I don't believe the labels I see in the grocery store anymore. Like, is it really non-GMO? Come on. Like, all chickens are fed growth hormones, because how does Tyson chicken get a baby chicklet to having a full-blown chicken for chicken breasts in less than 2 weeks? Growth hormones. So I go to the grocery store, I buy, a chicken breast, I get some meat, some potatoes, and that will spike my testosterone right through the roof again, just with diet. If I really want to get illegal about it, I could then take a shot of testosterone if I had any, like if I was using steroids or competing and I had some testosterone, I could do that. So there are ways to manipulate the test. That's what I wanted to get at. Like a trans athlete can still falsify his testing by doing those tricks I just showed you. I can spike anything I want within a matter of 24 hours. So why do we even bother testing if this is something that can be done that easily? I guess I'm kind of letting the cat out of the bag on some of the trans athletes, and that's good. That's what I want. I don't care. But some trans people, they're going to hate me for saying this, but we can manipulate our test results for my own endocrinologist, which I am guilty of. Like if I run low on this Del estrogen is very expensive. The bottle form is really expensive. But if I'm running low, I will back off my estrogen intake. I will cut back on my testosterone blockers about a week leading up to my blood test. And then my doctor gets my blood test and look, my testosterone's high and my estrogen's low. And she's like, oh, we better prescribe you a more aggressive dosage. So I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do that. So then my next prescription is double what it was before. So when these trans people are always like crying that, oh, they're going to take away our meds and make us detransition, like there's so many ways around it, you guys. And, I probably shouldn't be saying this on YouTube, but I don't care. Like I want fairness for women. And if this is what it takes just to open the public's eyes to, hey, these people are being disingenuous and there is ways around the system. I don't care how many people have been tested and if they claim they've been tested for 2 years or they've had their levels at this and that for 2 years. It only takes a couple days and you can change whatever you want. The human body reacts pretty quickly when it comes to immediate blood levels on stuff like this. Now, for me to take estrogen for 9 years and only get certain results, like at my age, taking estrogen doesn't really do much and keeping my T levels down. I'll be honest with you guys, like the health risk factor of me taking estrogen and lowering my testosterone it's actually not worth the results that I get at my age. So that's why, the kids, they want to transition the kids early because when I start taking estrogen at 40 or 30, at 30 it would make a difference, but you have to really work at it with your diet and your exercise, along with the estrogen levels and the decreased testosterone. I could feminize my body a little bit more because I have been an athlete all my life. I cannot not exercise, right? So if I would just cut back on the exercising and eat more fatty foods, I would be able to put weight on in my hips, my lower arms, my butt, my breasts would get larger. And those are things that would make a man look more voluptuous or more simulate a woman, and that's the whole goal behind being trans is to try and be comfortable with the way we look and the way I present to everybody in public. So yeah, those things are important to me, but they're not more important to me than being fat. So I'm not saying all trans girls get fat, but if you want big gains and good results from your estrogen and your HRT, dieting and lack of exercise is actually better for you. But at my age, like I said, the only thing it really does for me that I've learned over the years how to control my levels. And yes, I still fake it at the doctor's office with my blood work. I know when I'm getting my blood work done, so I will just do whatever I need to adjust my amounts. But I know now for so long, I don't even need an endo really. I've been doing it for so long, I don't need an endocrinologist. I know how many pills I need to take per day to keep the levels at where I feel good. And what I use the estrogen for now is to keep the arm hair down, body hair down, like keeps that all the way. And I don't have to worry about that. But if I start taking too much estrogen and my testosterone gets too low, I don't feel good. I feel kind of crappy. Like it's hard for me to get up in the morning. I don't have a lot of energy. And I don't like saying that either because that gives the trans athletes a little more ammunition. Like the big argument is like, they're like, see, we're at a disadvantage. It's like, no, you're not. I still have muscles and I still have heavy bones. I still have big ass lungs and these stupid man hands. Like my legs are so strong, you guys, just because of all the sports that I do involve a lot of legs. So whether it's running, cycling, motocross, road racing, it's a lot of legs to compete in those sports. So I have retained a lot of my male puberty advantage. And that's one thing that all of these blockers can never get rid of. I mean, I'm just being honest. And I know that kind of pisses off a lot of the actual trans people out there if they're trying to cheat, but that's what you get. for trying to cheat in the first place. So just to reiterate, the Olympics hiding the truth from the general public and not being transparent like I wish they were. Why can't they just tell us? But instead, they're accusing the IBA, which is the boxing commission that is owned by Russians and blah, blah, blah. They've been debunked as, a legitimate business. They're crooked. What? I don't care about that. Show me the test results and tell me what you tested for, and let me make that decision as to whether I think Emain Khalif is cheating or not. Stop being so hidden. Stop being so deceitful. Be transparent. Show us the results. Tell us what you were testing for, what the actual blood work says. Because I know what my own two eyes tell me is that both Emain and Li Ting both went through male puberty. That is undeniable. I don't care who wants to argue with me about that. And I've had some good discussions on my YouTube and my Instagram. So in my last video, when I talked about free testosterone being unbound, meaning the body just has free testosterone, and it's usually, say you had 100% testosterone. Of the 100% testosterone you have, only 2% of that is free. And free means it's unbound to a cell. A cell being a muscular cell. Which, if the testosterone is free, it's just not bound to a cell. And CIAS is complete androgen insensitivity. Okay, so that means that if Khalif was actually diagnosed with a GSD, intersex, but he has CAIS, that means none of his testosterone in his system is bound to cells. So he would not benefit from elevated levels of natural free testosterone as a child going through puberty. I don't think that's the case, and I discussed this with one of my followers on YouTube as well. What I think Khalif has is a partial insensitivity. So of the 100% available testosterone, I'd say 60 to 80% is binding itself to his molecular structure, built his bones, created his frame, his manly kneecaps that we see, his man shoulders, his defined jawline, kind of like mine. So he experienced male puberty. And the Taiwanese boxer, they experienced male puberty as well. That is a hill I am willing to die on. And y'all know me, I am willing to die for this cause. Hands down, I do not care. If you want to come after me, here I am, Las Vegas. I know I don't have my sign in the video today, but y'all know I live in Las Vegas. Come see me. If you want to argue about it, I'm right here. Okay, and so now we're going to switch gears to a different sport, but still a male inclusion and male entitlement. Here we have a rugby player who is competing in the women's division of rugby. Now, I have reached out to this player, and we've had some discussion. We've had some words. Not as kind as I should have been, maybe, but he has been actually pretty respectful to me. But I was telling him I don't agree with what he posted, and I'm going to show you what he posted about. I deserve to participate in the things I enjoy. He got called out for playing rugby with the girls. Yeah, you can play sports, just not in the women's division. But they can't seem to get that through their narcissistic heads. Now, I commented on this, and here he is doing shots with all the girls afterwards. That's him in the middle with the man boobs. This guy, that's him in the middle there. I don't know if you can see he's got the white shirt on. And the girl standing next to him appears to be like, I'm out. I'm not going to try and tackle you. Probably because she doesn't want to get hurt. Look at the size of this guy. He's not small. And some of the girls are pretty stocky, and that's good, for their own protection, but they're still not this guy's size. So I reached out to him on Instagram. I found him, and he hasn't blocked me yet. But I did bring up some points to him that I wanted him to understand, that not only is he putting females at risk, but that he is making the trans community look bad. And as you guys know, I've said this before, I don't ever want to make this about me. I don't care how much hate I get. I just got done telling everybody to come see me in Las Vegas if you don't like my opinions. So I appreciate all the support I get because women do reach out to me and they're like, geez, Jess, I can't believe how much hate you get from your own trans community, as well as the radical feminists that really hate you for just being you. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And I've said this before, that it kind of hurts when a feminist comes at me and says, you're this and you're that. That hurts my feelings, just because I don't want to be that to a woman. Women are important to me, and I don't want to be that guy that everybody hates. So that's the point that I tried to make to this trans athlete guy, is that, you're making us look bad as trans people. And we went back and forth, and he's like, the fact that you said that I'm not trans is disgusting. I can't believe you're this type of person, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you know what? He is putting the effort in. I will say this. I've done some research on him. He's actually scheduled for feminine facial surgery. He's obviously on hormones. He's got some breast development there, and he's trying. I can't fault him for the way he looks. I mean, look at me. Like, I'm no prize. Wanted him to understand that, he's doing wrong by women and by the trans community, and I'm not okay with it. So, and then he fired back at me like, who do you think you are calling me not trans, and you're being a hypocrite against your own community? And, we went back and forth. Nothing got resolved, but I just wanted to show you guys. So the way I navigate on Twitter, the people I follow, like Icons for Women, this is very important to me. And there's a few others that I follow really closely. I Heart Cycles, Lives of TikTok, obviously, Kathy Devine. So when girls that I support show me something on Twitter, I will go after that person. I'm like, I've been accused of being the watchdog or the pit bull for Sharon Davies, Martina Navratilova. Sorry if I said that wrong. It's hard for me to say that name. A few other women that are advocates for protecting women's sports. If someone attacks them on Twitter, I am on it. Like, I follow them, so I have their notifications turned on. The minute somebody tries to go after them for being, transphobic or a bigot, I attack them seriously. And I will find you on Twitter. I will find you on Instagram, Facebook, whatever it takes. I want to talk to you and I want to set you straight. So yes, that's a little big-headed of me, but I don't care. I'm trying to protect women, most importantly. And secondly, I'm kind of trying to look out for my own community so we don't look like a bunch of total assholes. So the next topic I'm going to put into this video, and then I'll leave you guys alone, is the kids issue. So kids and kids in sports, I will talk about. I don't usually talk about keeping kids from transitioning. I do touch on it from time to time. Just so I make myself clear, I am not for the medical or surgical transitioning of anyone below the age of 18. Okay? Do I know there are benefits from doing that? Yes. Do I know there are dangers and complications from doing that? Yes. And to me, they far outweigh the benefits that you gain. When you weigh the differences between the benefits and the disadvantages. Now, I hate even using the word disadvantage, you guys. I just can't come up with the right word for it. But we're talking about jeopardizing the longevity of someone's livelihood. So to me, the disadvantages are the pros versus cons. The cons are way worse than the pros of transitioning pre-puberty or after puberty. That's so important. And I talk about that in another video that's coming out. So I won't touch on that too much, but I do want to touch on this. If you have or know someone in a family situation or just a friend who has a kid that wants to transition, I want you to share this video with them, and maybe it can help them guide, especially if it's a female to male transition. Those to me are more critically in danger of long-term disabilities and long-term damage than a male to female. So as I've talked about ad nauseum in other videos, the female to male pandemic is out of control. The social contagion there is just run rampant. And here we have a video of someone who I used to idolize in movies, and I loved her. And she, over the last maybe 6 to 8 years, has become super woke, you guys.
Drag is not a danger to children because, to quote my goddess, Priyanka, Mama didn't raise a quitter.
Okay, I assume that's Priyanka, but that was Charlize Theron. And she, surprise, surprise, has a few trans kids, I guess. A few of her kids are now trans or non-binary or whatever. But the thing that I want to go over is if you have, like I said, if you have a friend or a relative who has a daughter that's questioning whether or not they are a boy or a girl, I want you to show them this video. And even if you want to just fast forward to this part, that's fine. But these words I think are important. I wrote them down, so I'll read them to you. And there's a reason the UK has now banned prescribing any drugs or surgeries for any minors. And that's a great thing. We need the United States to get on board with this issue, because if they don't, more people are going to come to this country just to transition. It's an insane, like Elon Musk has said, woke mind virus took his son from him. She transitioned and lied to Elon to get him to sign documents that allowed her to get surgeries and medication below the age of 18. So that was pretty bad, but it's true. It is a woke mind virus, in my opinion. So I just want to let kids know that the person that you are today, whether you're 12 or 17, that person is not who you're going to be 20 years from now. I can attest to that. I didn't know what I was going to be when I was a kid. I am not regretful that I went through male puberty. I am not regretful that I didn't spend my teenage years sobbing in my basement about, oh my gosh, the world hates me, the world hates trans people. Am I trans? Am I not trans? Who do I identify as? Who should I identify with? Who should I hang out with? I spent my teenage years being a rambunctious punk teenager, and I look back on my life. Do I regret not transitioning younger? Yes. I would have transitioned at 19 and I would be so much more feminized. I would not have gone through the stages I went through where at one point I thought I was going to be a bodybuilder, and then I thought I was going to be a biker, like a one percenter, like a bad guy on a Harley. And then that wasn't for me, and I tried and like I said, I tried to do the bodybuilding thing, went to the gym every day, took steroids, kind of a bad guy. And, I had a lot of rage and a lot of anger built up within me, but I kept trying different things and nothing would make this go away. I was always pissed off at the world. I was always angry, but I still, as a teenager, I don't regret not going through male puberty. It didn't matter. It wasn't something on my radar. And I can't stress that enough to these kids these days, that you don't need to be worried about who you identify as or your pronouns. And I know this is a cliche comparison, but I'm gonna use it anyway, right? So the tattoos. So the tattoo issue is always brought up as because you can't get a tattoo until you're 18, but you can go to California and get your breast cut off at 14. And they all say, oh, that never happens. Just like they say, oh, there's only like 7 trans people in women's sports. Like, no, there's hundreds of lost titles and championships and prize money over the last 3 years. Thousands of women have lost out on opportunities because of the trans inclusion thing. So don't give me that. So let's compare a minor transitioning to a minor getting a tattoo. When you get that face tattoo of that marijuana leaf on your neck or your boyfriend's name across here because all you want to do is show the world how many F's you don't give, think about what that looks like 10 years from now. You're assuming that what you know now is what you're going to know 20 years from now, and that you're going to be right. I promise you're going to be wrong. Whatever it is you think you know about the world, it's going to change. The world will change. Things won't be cool anymore. I keep waiting for this trans trend to die off, but it seems to be like gaining momentum, unfortunately, and not to be a gatekeeper. But when it comes to children and women's sports and prisons, of course I'm going to be a gatekeeper. You're damn right. Like, we got to stop this madness, and it needs to stop now. So as my final message to the kids that want to either get a face tattoo or cut their breasts off, please stop complaining. Stop playing the victim. Stop looking for a reason to be oppressed. Okay? Be a kid. Live your life and enjoy it while you have it. You have metabolism. You have family members that love you. You have your whole life ahead of you. Work on being a kid, learning social norms and how to integrate into society, and then focus on what gender you think you are or what ink you think you need in order to be happy in life. You can be happy in life if you just work at it. And not that it has to be a lot of work or that it should be hard work, but life is hard. And to quote the great Candace Owens, life is hard, get a helmet. Like, that's a good saying, but it's real. And it speaks to what we're dealing with today with the younger generation being so malleable and so, I hate to say it, but gullible and easily manipulated into things that they may or may not regret in the future. And I'm just trying to keep them from making those decisions. I hope that was informative. I hope that helped. And I hope you can use this information going forward. If anybody wants to leave a comment in the comment section, let's talk about it. And I promise I'll be as respectful as possible. You guys have a good weekend. See you.